Subject and predicate. Now, when we make a sentence, we name some persons or thing, or we say something about that person or thing. In other words, we must have a subject to speak about, and we must say something about the person. The person whom we are talking is called subject, and what we talk about that person is called predicate. Simple. So Lucknow is a beautiful city. So which is the subject? Lucknow. We are talking about Lucknow. And what we are talking about, that it's a beautiful city. So I hope you get the concept clear. Subject is the part which names a person or a thing, and predicate is the part which tells something about the subject. In next video, we are going to talk about parts of speech. Now let's take an example. We have three groups and we need to find the odd man out. Let's see in the first group. Red, green, yellow, blue, pen. Pen is the odd man out. In the second group, apple, mango, banana, orange, spinach, grapes, guava. Okay, all the others are fruit and one is a vegetable. Okay, January, April, July, September, December, Monday. So Monday is a day and all other are months. Now we all can identify with this example which one is the odd word from these groups. Similarly, every word or every English sentence falls into certain category. So we have identified the odd out of those three groups. So by this example, we can observe that everything has its own category. And if something comes in between, we come to know automatically. Similarly, English grammar has 8 categories of speeches. Now this is very important, which are also called parts of speech. Now we will learn them in detail about all the parts of speech: noun, verb, pronoun, adjective, adverb, conjunction, interjection and articles. Now these are the 8 parts of speeches which you need to remember. We are going to study about each one of them in detail. Now sentences contains clauses. This is very important. Simple sentences have one clause. Compound sentence and complex sentences have 2 or more clauses. Sentence can contain subjects and objects. The subject in a sentence is generally the person or the thing carrying out an action. The object in a sentence is involved in an action but does not carry out. The object comes after the verb. Now let me give you certain examples, only then you will understand. The boy climbed a tree. Now if you want to say what is the subject, subject is the boy, the person who's doing the action. And what is the object? Object is the tree. And what is the boy doing? Climbing the tree. So you can add an adjective. Let's take another example. The young boy climbed a tall tree. So if you want to say more about how he climbed the tree, you can use an adverb. So adverb is something which adds a value, or in fact it describes the word in a proper manner. Okay, the young boy climbed a tall tree. So you're describing what tree it is and what the boy is. Boy is a young boy. Earlier in the previous sentence we had just written a simple sentence. Okay, here we have said sentences contains clauses, and simple sentence have one clause. Okay, let's see one more example. The young boy quickly climbed a tall tree. The sentence becomes more interesting as it gives the reader or listening more information. So the words which are used to describe a particular adjective are called adverbs. Now there are more things that you can add to enrich your sentence. These are just examples and we are going to learn about them in a very detailed manner. Adjective, it describes the people. Okay. Adverb, it alters the meaning of the verb slightly. Article a and the A and are indefinite articles. A and an, and the is a definite article. We will study about articles in detail in the future chapters. Conjunction, anything which join words or sentences together. And, or. Interjection, a short word showing emotions or feeling. Wow, congratulations, beautiful. Noun, it names things. Preposition, it relates one thing to the other. The cat sat on the table. On is telling the relationship between the cat and the table. Pronoun, it is used instead of noun to avoid repetition. Ram is a good boy. He is very obedient. So I'm not using Ram every time. I'm describing Ram with he. He is a pronoun. So I don't have to use Ram everywhere. Proper noun is actual name of the people. Ram goes to school. Who? Ram. Ram is a proper name. Verb is action or doing thing. He's running very fast. So what is the action? Running. Running is a verb. Now, these are the parts of sentences: adjectives, adverb, article, conjunction, interjection, noun, preposition, pronoun, and verb. We are going to study all this in detail. Now, we will also in the next video study what makes a complete sentence, simple sentences, and different types of other sentences. Now, what makes a complete sentence? Now, if it helps you think about a sentence as if it were a skeleton. The skeleton contains various bones, and these bones are put together to form different parts of the body. So, the sentences are also formed by words. The words are the bones, and they are put together in different ways to form sentences. It's a very good example. We all have a human body, and human body is made up of different organs, bones, tissues. And this is what the sentence is also made up of, different components like verbs, adjectives, adverbs, noun, pronoun. Now let us learn about simple sentences and compound sentences. So what is a simple sentence? A simple sentence contains a single subject and a predicate. Very important. Single subject and a predicate. It describes only one thing, idea or a question, and has only one verb. So it has one idea, it describes one thing, and has only one verb. It contains only an independent main clause. So any independent clause can stand alone as a sentence. It has a subject and a verb and expresses a complete thought. For example, Jill reads. Now this is a very simple sentence. Just one noun. What he is doing, the verb, reads. Jill reads. Even the addition of adjectives, adverbs, and prepositional phrases to form a simple sentence does not change it into a complex sentence. So basically you just have to remember this idea: single subject and a single predicate. One person doing one job is called a simple sentence. And even if something is added to it like adjectives, adverbs, preposition, and it still contains one subject and one predicate, it will still be a simple sentence. For example, the brown dog with the red collar always barks loudly. So there is one subject. What is that? Dog. And what is he doing? Predicate, barks. Okay. Always, loudly. I could have said in a very simple way, the dog barks. Simple. But I've added adjectives, adverbs, right? And made it a bit better. But still, this is a simple sentence. I hope you got the concept correct. Now, even if you join several nouns with conjunction or several verbs with a conjunction, it remains a simple sentence. For example, the dog barked and growled loudly. Okay. So this concept is clear. Let's come to compound sentences. Now, what are compound sentences? Compound sentences are made up of two or more simple sentences combined using a conjunction. This is what I had told you. It's part of sentence. Conjunction. Conjunction is something which joins two words: and, or, but. Now these are compound sentences. So what is the concept? It is made up of two or more simple sentences. I hope you got the idea. Now, they are made up of more than one independent clause. Okay, even the clause is more than one, joined together with coordinating conjunction. Okay, let's take examples. The sun was setting in the west and the moon was just rising. So there are two subjects, sun, moon, two predicates, setting, rising. Okay, and it is joined by one conjunction, which is and. So it is a compound sentence. Simple. So each clause can stand alone as a sentence. Let's take one more example. The sun was setting in the west. One subject, one predicate. The moon was just rising. Rising, predicate, subject is the moon. Again, each clause can stand alone in a sentence. So these are two different sentences. All clauses are standing alone in the sentence. So every clause is like a sentence with a subject and a verb. Yes. A coordinating conjunction goes in the middle of the sentence. It is the word that joins the two clauses together. The most common are and or but. Let's take few more examples. I walked to the shops, but my husband drove. Two different sentences joined by but. I might watch the film, or I might visit my friends. Two sentences joined by or. It's a compound sentence. Okay. My friend enjoyed the film, but she didn't like the actor. Two things, enjoyed and liked. But. This is joined by but. So I hope you now understood what is a simple sentence and what is a compound sentence. Let us understand what is a complex sentence. Now, complex sentences describe more than one thing or idea and have more than one verb in them. Okay, this is very important. More than one thing or idea, and they have more than one verb in them. Even the verb is more than one. I hope now you will understand this in a better way. They are made up of more than one clause, an independent clause that can stand by itself, and a dependent clause, which means it is dependent upon the independent clause. Okay, let's take examples to better understand this. My mother likes dogs that don't bark. Okay, now this is very interesting. Mother, dogs, subjects, likes, okay, that don't bark. Great. So this word that don't bark is joining mother and dogs. Dependent clauses can be nominal, adverbial or adjectival. Now in the next video we are going to study the anatomy of a sentence in detail. The anatomy of a sentence. The anatomy means the structure of a sentence. Now let's first talk about the verb. Now the verb is the fundamental part of sentence. In other words, word is the action part of the sentence. So anything, whenever you write a sentence, will have to be associated with a particular verb. The subject, which is the main person, the primary person, is going to be doing something, and that is called verb. The rest of the sentence, with the exception of the subject, depends very much on the verb. It is important to have good knowledge of the forms used after each verb. That is the verb pattern. For example, to tell someone to do something. Here we can see that verb to tell is followed immediately by a person, the indirect object, which is explained later, an infinitive with to and possibly an object for verb you substitute for do. Now verbs also show a state of being. Now this is very important. It shows a state of being. Such verbs are called be verbs or linking verbs, which includes verbs such as am, is, are, was, were, be, been, being, became, seem, appear, and sometimes verbs of senses like taste, feels, look, hears and smells. Now you must observe, you can also see for yourself that these words are such important verbs to make a complete sentence, without which no sentence can be complete. For example, beer and wine are my favorite drinks. The verb are is a linking verb, right? So now you see and understand the importance of verb. Fortunately, there are only a limited number of different verb patterns. Verbs can describe the action, something the subject actually does, or state of the subject. For example, action, I play football twice a week. So who's playing football? I am playing. In what is the frequency? Twice a week. State, I've got a car. So I'm stating that I have got a car, right? Some verbs can represent both actions and states depending upon the context. For example, work. Action, David's working in the bank. So David is working in the bank. State, David works in a bank. So this is a particular statement, and this ensures, or this sentence shows that David is doing something. He's working, right? Now, in the next video, we are going to see how to find the verb. Now, how important it is for us to identify verb subject from a particular sentence. Let us see in this video. Now, when you analyze a sentence, the first is to identify the verb. The verb names and asserts the action or state of the sentence. For example, working at a computer all day made David's headache. The main verb of the sentence is made and not working. Verbs identify our activity or state. So whether we are doing something or we are stating, this is determined and stated by the verb. For example, eat, sleep, run, jump, study, think, digest, shout, walk. This can either be activity or state. I'm eating, right? Or I ate. That is a statement. I'm sleeping. He's sleeping. That is an activity. He slept, right? Now, this is how you identify whether it is an activity or a state, and that is why it is essential for you to identify the verb in a particular sentence. Now, let's see another example in which the subject and predicate is determined. Now, the subject is the person or the thing the sentence is all about. Often it will be the first part of the sentence. The subject will usually be a noun followed by a verb. Let's find out the subject. Once you determine the verb, ask what question of the verb. This will locate the subject. For example, David works hard. So who works hard? David. David is the subject. Beer and wine are my favorite drinks. What are your favorite drinks? Beer and wine. Beer and wine are subjects. It's a very simple technique. A subject of a sentence will answer the question who or what. Let's see predicate. Now, once you have identified the subject, the remainder of the sentence tells us what the subject does or did. This part of the sentence is called predicate of the sentence. So the predicate always includes the verb and the words which come after the verb. For example, Michael Schumacher drove the race car. So Michael Schumacher is the subject who drove, which is the short form in the English. Now in the next video, we are going to talk about the long and the short form of it. The long and short of it. Now, verb conjugation and contraction, in other words, the short form. In English, we use the word or the short form a lot. We say things like I'm, you are, didn't, instead of I am, you are, did not, etc. Now, to know the short forms itself will simplify your English, both in terms of writing and speaking. So we also use these short forms in informal written English. When we write in the short form, we use apostrophe for the missing letters. Now, forms of auxiliary verbs to be, to do, and to do have. Now let's see some examples of to be. Positive statement and negative statement. I am, he's, she's, it's, you are, we are, they are. Long form, I'm not, he isn't or he's not, she isn't or she's not. It isn't. It's not. You aren't. You are not. We aren't. We are not. They are not. If we talk to be in simple past form, I was, he was, she was, it was, you were, we were, they were. Long form, I wasn't. He was not, he wasn't. She was not, she wasn't. It was not, it wasn't. You were not, you weren't. We were not, we weren't. They were not, they weren't. If we talk about to do words in simple present form, I do, he does, she does, it does, you do, we do, they do. I do not, I don't. He does not, he doesn't. She does not, she doesn't. It does not, it doesn't. You do not, you don't. We do not, we don't. They do not, they don't. Now simple past form to do is I, he, she, it, you, we, they did. And if we talk about a negative sentence, I didn't, he didn't, she didn't, it didn't work out. You didn't come, we didn't play, they didn't allow us. To have simple present form, I've, he's, she's, it's, you have, we have, they have. I haven't or I have not. He hasn't or he's not in negative form. She hasn't or she's not. It hasn't or it's not. You haven't or you have not. We haven't or we have not. They haven't or they have not. Now these are something which, these words, these phrases are something which you need to learn. It should come naturally to you. Only then you will be able to speak fluent English. Then is to have in simple past form, right? So I did, he did, she did, it did, you did, we did, they did. Hadn't, I hadn't, or I would not. He hadn't or he would not. She hadn't or she would not. It hadn't or it would not. You hadn't or you would not. We hadn't or we would not. They hadn't or they would not. The long and short form of the modal verbs can, could, shall, should, must, will and would. Now if you see can, the positive statement is I can, he can, she can, it can, you can, we can, they can. The long form of it is I can't, he cannot, or he can't, she cannot, she can't, it cannot, it can't, you cannot, you can't, we cannot, we can't, they cannot, they can't. Could, similarly, I could, they could, she could, it could. Or if we talk about negative statement, I could not or I couldn't. He could not, he couldn't. Similarly for must, I must, she must, he must, it must. In negative form, I must not, I mustn't. He shouldn't, he should not. Shall, I shall, he shall, she shall. Negative statement, I shall not, I shan't, he shouldn't, or I should not. Okay. Similarly for should, will, I will, he will, she will. You can pause the video and you can practice these phrases. I won't allow it. He won't be going there. She won't be doing it. I won't come today. You won't do business with me. We won't allow it to happen. They won't come in the evening tonight. You can use these simple words to make sentences and practice your level of improvement in these words. These are very, very important phrases which we all must know how to use it. So in the coming videos, we are going to learn about noun. So every chapter is going to have a lot of subsections, and this course is going to be a very comprehensive course. So all you need to do is enroll yourself and see and watch these videos over a period of time, right? Thank you.